Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today we have a fun set from Stamperia called the Cozy Winter Collection, and this includes an 8x8 paper pack which has 10 sheets of double-sided pattern papers, all with a sweet whimsical style. And you can see the color palette that they're working with here. Some cool blues as well as some beautiful soft pinks and gorgeous greens. Of course, some really nice traditional imagery in here with the pine trees and pine boughs, as well as some beautiful winter florals. As you can see, there's a lot of really fun and beautiful papers in here. Now, as is often the case with Stamperia, they also have some cutout elements here. You can use these as is or personalize the reverse side, and you can use them as card focals for the inside of your card and so much more. So here's just another few pages in this collection. Now, to go along with this, there is a set of 52 chipboard die cuts. These, of course, coordinate with the background papers, giving you lots of options for card focals. Then you have a sheet of the Romantic Cozy Winter Blues Rounds rice paper. And this has 6 large circular images, plus some smaller elements on here too. Rice paper is a lot of fun to use and super easy too. So we'll take a look at how to use these for your cards. Then finally, I'm really excited to show you this. There's the 3D pop-up card kit. And this has all the die cut pieces needed to create this really fun and stylish pop-up card. So you can see all of these elements here. These are die cut, making it super simple to create this really unique card. So lots of fun things from Stamperia today. As you can see, we have a lot to explore, and I am so very glad that you're here. Come play with us. Let's begin with this card, which features a simple but effective combination of pattern papers, cutouts, and die cuts. So I've covered the front of my card with this brown leaf pattern paper, which is just a beautiful design and so easy to use. Then I've added a smaller piece of lightly patterned paper for contrast, and that's this rectangle right here in the center. Now, to add extra definition between the two pattern designs, you can always add in a solid paper mat. So matting this piece onto a solid piece of cardstock before gluing it onto your card front. You can also add in some inking, and that's what I've done here. So rather than adding a mat in here, I simply inked the edges using a metallic gold ink pad from Crafter's Companion. And I really love this. This is the Midas effect, which is what I call it. I think it just adds a beautiful look, soft, delicate shading. It's metallic, but not a really high gloss metallic, something a bit more subtle. So let me bring in a couple of pieces of paper here. I'll move my card aside. So here's just a little leftover snippet of pattern paper from the collection. And I'm going to take my ink pad here. Now you can see it's got a nice raised pad on here. It's not recessed into the plastic piece, which means that it's really easy to use for inking the edges. So I can either just simply run this straight along the edge of my cardstock, and you can see that extra bit of definition. I can also angle the ink pad in more toward the front of my piece of cardstock and kind of swish this off to the side like so, and then I will get a heavier look. So it kind of depends on what you're going for. Now you can go quite heavy if you want to, and really swoosh this off and add in a thicker, darker line. But you can see that extra bit of definition on there and how beautiful that looks. Now, if I put it on the white cardstock, you can see the difference, but you can also see the difference here just between these two patterned designs. So it really does create a nice finished edge on here, and it's a simple way to create a little bit of polish on your cards. So what I've done here is inked around the outside edge of this piece before gluing it down. I also inked around the outside edges of my card, as well as this focal element here. Now the focal piece that you can see is one of the cutouts from the 8x8 collection. So remember, you've got a page in there that has all of these really nice perfectly sized elements, which are just cutouts. So now I've just kind of chopped them out from the backing piece. Simple to trim with a paper trimmer or scissors, but they're patterned on one side, and then on the other side they have a border, maybe a small piece of art down here. But you can add these in with your own various messages. And what I've done here is simply added a dazzle. This is from the Christmas Greetings Dazzle collection, and they come in all different sizes and colors, and the smaller size and the silver just worked beautifully. Then I've also got some die cuts on here. So I've got the skates up here, and I've got this grouping down here. Now this is all one die cut. So you've got lots of images. It works perfectly as a border and just to kind of anchor the rest of the elements on the front of my card. And I've popped these two up on foam tape for a little bit of extra dimension. Then for my card inside, I have a strip of that pattern paper, also inked along this edge and this edge before gluing that down, plus a tag die cut and some more die cuts down here. Now I've simply threaded some ribbon from the 1/8 inch ribbon assortment through the top and then glued this onto the card inside. Now I've also used some of the same ribbon, or ribbon from the same kit, right here on my skates. And this is a really nice ribbon collection because they're thinner and they're lighter weight, so they add some definition and a touch of softness without adding a lot of bulk to your card. So this is a great solution if you want to add some ribbon to your card, but maybe you're mailing it or you just don't want it to be so bulky. This is a really good way to go. So the 1/8 inch ribbon collection is perfect for that. Okay, now that we've seen how simple and easy it is to create a beautiful and simple card with the papers and die cuts, let's add in some rice paper to the mix and see how to include those with our papers and die cuts. Here's a card using the rice paper rounds as a focal, and I'm incorporating some nested circular cutting dies as well, and those are from hot off the press. So this area here is the rice paper, which has been glued onto sheet music pattern paper, and you can see the design showing through here. Then I've die cut that and mounted it up onto a scalloped circle here. So this process will look simpler as I'm demonstrating it. So let's take a look. I'm going to set aside my card and just again quickly show you this sheet of the rice paper. So you've got the rounds here. Now I've got this onto some white cardstock just so that you can see those designs a little more clearly, but you can also layer these onto pattern paper, and because this is translucent, then you'll be able to see that pattern design showing through, which is a lot of fun. So what I've done here is I've just used a pair of scissors to chop out one of the images from that backing sheet. So if you're going to do some die cutting, you don't need to worry about cutting around perfectly the outside edge. So if I put this onto some white cardstock, you can see how beautifully that shows. So I could simply glue this onto my white cardstock. I could also glue it onto pattern paper, which is what I did for my card front. So I think here if I position this like so, you can see some of the sheet music print showing through some of those lighter areas here. So you could do it on kind of a tone-on-tone design. You could also do it on something a little bit brighter. So as you can see, this is really boosting the blues in the image. This one will soften things to be a little bit warmer. So you've got lots of options when you're gluing these, which is a lot of fun too. Okay, so for our demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use our white cardstock here, and it's important to use something that is going to give some stability. So before you do any die cutting, you want to have something a little bit more stable behind your rice paper. Now what I'm going to do is use some of my wet adhesive, and I like to use the glue from Creative Expressions, their Cosmic Shimmer, and I've just got a little bit on a piece of plastic here. And then I've got a damp paintbrush, and I'm just going to pick up some of the glue here, add a little bit of water to the mix, and I'm just going to put this onto my cardstock in about the amount of space, maybe a little bit bigger than my image. Okay, so got that on here. And then I'm just going to pop this down and smooth it out. Now the great thing about rice paper is that it's lightweight and translucent, but unlike traditional decoupage paper or tissue paper, it won't buckle and it won't warp. So that's really great. Okay, I'm going to move this out of my way here. Now before I do anything with this in terms of cutting or die cutting, I want to make sure that it is completely dry. So I let that air dry. And where I live, it generally takes, I don't know, about 15 minutes, not a long time, maybe different where you live. Then what I can do is my die cutting. So I've got some options with my circular dies. I've got a smaller one and a larger one, just kind of depends on the area I want to die cut. So for the smaller piece, if I position this on here, you can see I'm just getting the image itself. So what I would do once this is dry, secure it in place, run it through my die cutting machine. Now the larger one here is going to capture the image as well as this border, the pink border around here. So again, just depends on how much of that border and the image you want to have. Of course, you can also do smaller if you wanted to just get a smaller section of the design. So once you've got that, you can die cut it, run it through your die cutting machine, just like any other item that you would do, and you are ready to go. So let's bring back in the card here. We can take another look at this. So I've used this whole piece as my card focal, and I've die cut this circular piece, which again is from that same set, from a piece of kind of taupe colored cardstock, and mounted my rice paper element up onto that. Now the cardstock is from the Sunflowers cardstock pack from Hot Off the Press, and it has some really lovely neutral shades that coordinate nicely with the Stamperia patterned papers. I've got a strip of that sheet music paper here also mounted up onto some cardstock, and that's just creating a nice area for my focal element. My background is of course beautiful pattern paper, and I've inked around the outside edges with that metallic gold ink pad. Then for my card inside, as you can see, I've got a nice strip of inked pattern paper, plus a die cut from the 8x8 pack, and a circle scallop piece with this little heart image. So you may remember from the rice paper sheet that you've got some smaller elements in here. These are really easy to add in as small accents to your cards. And what I do is just simply cut them out like so, and then same trick as before. You're going to take a little bit of your watery adhesive. Now in this case, what I like to do is put it onto the rice paper image itself, because this is a little one. So you don't want to get too much all over your cardstock piece. And then just handling it gently, position that where you want it to go. You don't need to add any more adhesive over the top of that. This will work just fine, and then let that dry and you are ready to add on perhaps a dazzle, as I've done here. I've got some more dazzles on the front of my card, this little Noel. I've also got some of those die cut elements here also popped up onto some foam tape. Super simple to do. I really love how easy rice paper is to use and how many different ways you can use it. Okay, now the next project I want to share is using one of my favorite dies from Hot Off the Press, the tag in a bag. And I know that I've demonstrated this quite often, but it really comes in handy, especially around the holidays. So this is the die set that I'm working with. You get a shape for the bag, you get a shape for the tag, and you can die cut these and simply add your die cuts, your cutouts, all kinds of different elements really simply and easily. So here I've die cut the bag from some cardstock from the Sunflower set, and then I wrapped a piece of that pattern paper around it. So it goes all the way around the back, and I've got a script dazzle here, and I've got some of those beautiful die cuts. That's all you need to do for the front. And then of course the tag is also another piece of pattern paper. Here's one of the cutouts, again another dazzle and some die cuts here. And you just pop that right into the bag, and it is a great way to create something that is maybe a little bit different, especially around the holidays. Now, of course, the bag can also hold some other items, maybe a gift card, money gift, notes, photos, Secret Santa things, maybe recipes, or even a piece of chocolate. Lots of things can be tucked inside here. It makes a great holiday presentation. Okay, now the last project I want to show you is using the 3D pop-up kit. So let me grab a few supplies and let's take a look. So the pop-up kit, as you can see, has the elements you need to create this pop-up card. So you've got all the die cut pieces in here. Now you will also need a couple of other things. You want some adhesive like a glue stick or white glue is preferable. Plus you'll want to have a bone folder or scoring tool and a straight edge. Just something like a plastic ruler will do the trick. Okay, then inside your kit, you've got your die cut elements here. Here's one of the two sheets. As you can see, I've already gotten into this piece. So you'll just pop these out. These are all die cut. And what you'll do is start with the base piece, which looks like this. So this is going to be your card base. This is the front, the back, and the inside is patterned too. So step one is punching this out and then folding it right in half, and you'll use that bone folder to score the crease on here, make that nice and crisp. And then you can either decide to do your decorating now for the outside, or you can start with the inside. Let me show you the front of the card here. So as you can see, I've got my collage of elements on here, and I followed the example on the package exactly, although you could, of course, do whatever you want on the front or the inside of your card too. And you've got a little pocket here, which can contain another tinier note if you want to. So that's what I did following the example on the package. You can also, of course, decorate the back of the card too. But then when this opens up, as you can see, your pop-up will be like this. Let's see if I can angle it so that you can see. And we'll talk about how to put this together. But essentially, you've got two pieces here, front and back of the fireplace. You've got the roof of the fireplace. You've got something going on top of the roof of the fireplace. And then you've got all of these other elements here that will come together. So again, you can follow this exactly, or you can create the base elements here and then decorate as you wish. So let's take a look at how to do this. All right, so I've got my base card here scored and ready to go, and I'll just go ahead and start with the inside. Now you'll notice these lines on here. So these lines are actually printed onto the paper, but they're very faint, just so that they won't show for the finished card. And I've just gone over these with some black pen, so it's a little easier to see on camera. This is going to be your designation for the two elements that you're going to be gluing. So you're going to start first with the fireplace, and again you'll simply die cut this, and you can see where the fold lines are on here. Again, it will be marked on the printed piece, but they're quite faint. So have some good lighting, but also just know that you will have those lines printed on there. So what you'll do, of course, grab that straight edge, and you can either use that as your scoring, or you can kind of use this to fold up like so. But you'll want to make sure that you're folding those in, and again, crisply scoring those edges so that you can make sure those will stay in place. So this and here, and then this one here as well. So then you'll also want to fold this in half, and again, score that really nicely. So then everything is ready to go as your fireplace. Now you've also got some decoration for the fireplace, which is this die cut piece. And again, you'll want to fold that in half and score it like so. Then you can glue this in place here. And I like to kind of tuck these up a little bit so that I know where the bottom is, and then position this down here. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of wet glue, white glue, put this on here. I'm using a toothpick just to make things a little easier. and glue this like so. So I've got both of these scored and folded, so that will just tuck right in there. And then I'm going to let this dry. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to bring in the other portion of my fireplace. So this is going to create a frame. This is going to go on the front section, whereas our other piece is going to go on the back section here. So once again, need to score those up, crease them really well. And these are double-sided, so the back of your card will also look nice too. So you've got those lines on here. And then what you'll do is start gluing this piece together. Okay, so again, starting with the back area here, this is going to be where your fireplace will go. And if I can angle this around, you can see that I need to align it with the lines printed onto my piece of paper. So where I've made those darker, that's where I'm going to position this first one. So what I'm going to do is just take some of that glue, my handy little toothpick here, and I'm just going to apply this on here. So there we go. And position this like so. Now I'm going to kind of hold this in place so that it will start to connect and dry. And then I can do some more gluing with my front piece here. So if I can angle this around, you can just take a look and see how that's glued on there. And you may want to, after that glue has set, just double check and make sure that things will fold up. Okay, so that's going to go right here. And then I'm going to take some more adhesive here, position that on these bottom portions, and then again following the lines, see how I can see this on here, and pop this down like so. Okay. So I think you can see from the top that you've got a little bit of space in there, and this is going to create a really sweet kind of shadow effect for your fireplace. Now do make sure you let this dry really thoroughly in between the steps. That's going to make everything a bit more secure when you're getting ready to fold things up and when you're layering things on top. So I'm going to let this set aside to dry for just a second and come back and move on to the next step. Okay, so my glue has dried, and you can see here when I angle this like so, you can see that I've got my front piece creating a frame for my fireplace in here. So I'll angle this again. You can see that dimension and how things look maybe from the side here. And of course, they will fold up like so. Now, I do need to add the roof on here, which I'll do in a second, but before I do that, I want to point out that this front area here is where your pop-up elements are going to extend from. So let me show you my finished card here. And again, kind of angle this up for you so that you can see I've got the chair, I've got a Christmas tree, got some little presents here, and also some Christmas stockings hanging on the front, as well as this portion here on the roof. So I'm going to glue down the roof in just a second, but wanted to point that out to you, how this is going flat, and there's another little piece up here too. So let's get to gluing that. I'll move this over here and show you the roof. So the roof is going to have two pieces. It's got this one here and a smaller piece here. So starting with the larger piece, again, punch that out and score this up. It's just going to fold right in half. And then you'll be gluing this with the fold here to fit the folds here, okay? So you do need to have both of your hands ready to go for this because you do need to hold it in place a bit. So again, I'm going to use my white glue and just add this along the top of both of these pieces. And this is why you do really want to have that well scored so that it's crisp and in place. So then I'm going to take this piece, match up this fold line and this fold line here, and then I need to angle this in place. And this can be a little bit fiddly, so don't let it frustrate you. But you do need to hold these in place once you get them in the place that you want them to be. And that can sometimes feel like it requires more than two hands. But once you've got that down, then you just need to let that glue dry and you can move on to the next step. Okay, so I think I've got it on here. Just need to get it over here. This is one reason why I never suggest double-sided tape, because you do need a little bit of a wiggle factor in here. Okay, so I'm going to hold this in place until it dries, and then we'll take a look at the top portion. So my roof has been glued in place, and this is the piece we just saw, and I've added on the top portion here. Now this is, again, a simple folded piece of cardstock. You've got some scoring to do on the back, and then folding it in the center and aligning that center fold with the center fold on your roof and the center fold in your card. So if I angle this here, you can see I've got my top piece, my roof, I've got the front portion of my fireplace, and in the center there as well. Again, just really important to make sure that all of those different elements are glued and in place before moving on to the next step. Just makes things a lot easier. So then once you've got this main portion done, you can decorate this however you want. So you can follow the package sample like I did. You can also do some of your own things if you want to. But let me just show you again the one that I created following the example on the package. So as you can see here, I've got some floral die cuts. I've also got some smaller pop-up elements here, a clock, some gifts, and these are all done using a little, not really sure what to call it, but I call it a booster in my mind. So these little pieces here, which will go in between the elements to allow them to pop out. So I've got some of those up here. I've got a chair, Christmas tree, some gifts. Now, again, you can decorate this however you want. If you want to come up with your own elements, those are included on the package. So you can kind of take those and do with them as you wish. What I do suggest you do, though, is periodically fold this up a little bit just to make sure that when you're arranging things that the elements don't bump into each other. So just a little tip as you're decorating this. So one thing I do want to point out are these little booster pieces, how to put those together and what they look like. So I'm going to bring in one of the die cut pieces here. These are your booster strips. So you can see some thick black lines on here. I drew those on there because I wanted you to be able to see that there are lines printed on here. They're very faint, however. So I've enhanced those with some black marker just so that you can see that they're there. So what you'll do is die cut out those pieces. You'll have a strip that will look like this. And then what you'll do is score up on those lines like so. And you'll have a little tab that will be kind of left over. Again, just take a little bit of glue and pop this around like so. Definitely, this is learned experience, let these pieces dry really well before you use them. That's just a little tip from me so that you don't get frustrated. So once that's glued, you can use that to boost up some of your die cut elements. So for example, this tree here, what you'll do once this is dry is simply put a little bit of adhesive here on one of these tabs. And this is double-sided, so either side. And then pop this on here. And again, let this dry really well before you glue it onto your card. Okay, so this is glued in place. That's what it looks like from the side. And you've got these in different sizes. So this is one of the large ones, but you've got some medium sizes and you've got some little ones because you've got some smaller die cut elements that you don't want to have something quite so large on here. And then what I'll do, let's see, get this out of the way, put some adhesive on here, and then simply adhere this onto my fireplace. I guess it goes on this side. Well, it can go on either side, whichever side you want. Again, make sure that that's firmly in place, let it dry, and then proceed on to the next step. So that is how easy it is to put together the pop-up card. Again, I'm going to show this to you here. Angle it like so, and you can see where I've got the tree, I've got the chair, lots of gift elements. You also have some stockings that are just simply glued on to the front of the fireplace, so those don't use the boosters. You've got some pieces to decorate down here. This creates kind of a pocket with some elements. You've got a little bag, you've also got some floral pieces, and then a little birdie over here. And then again, once this folds up, you've got elements to decorate the front of your card as well. And this is our final project for the day today. So I do want to say a big thank you to you for joining me today, and a big thank you to our friends at Stamperia for these very sweet and cozy elements. So thank you so much for joining us. We're just really glad that you're here, and we're so happy you're part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. Be sure to see the money saver on the right side of your screen at paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, just have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything that I've just mentioned. If you enjoyed the video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.